Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Um, if anyone has a story that they would like to share here on this show, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. If you want to contribute to help me with the show, you can go to a link in the description. It's PayPal me. You can click that and you can make a contribution. Thank you to everyone who has contributed. I picked a winner off of the video that you were supposed to comment on to be eligible for the drawing. And what I did was had someone pick a random number between 1 and 100, and then at the time that was picked, I think it was 2:22 or something like that, Eastern Standard Time on the 19th, 9/19/2016. I counted down that number. I think it was number 32, and the person who was on that number was the winner. Instead of transferring all those names to a hat and drawing them, it's the same as a drawing. But anyway, it happened to be Don Vesser, someone who's been on the show before. So I was like, goodness, he's supposed to email me and give me his address, and then the other two flashlights comment on this video. I'll have two numbers randomly picked, and the other two flashlights will be given, and I'll announce those closer to the 22nd, something like that. All right, so today's guest is his name is Dan, and he had a Dogman encounter when I interviewed him 2 days prior. And he contacted me on one day after he had the encounter, and he left the description of his story in the Google Plus community called Mysteries to Search in the Share Your Unusual Story section. He was very distraught. He didn't know what he had encountered. He'd never heard of such a thing. He just called it a werewolf, like most people do, and that don't know anything about Dogman. So anyway, I'm gonna talk to him for a little bit, and then it's like he was ready to talk, and very interesting encounter here with some little pieces of information I thought that was very telling on maybe this the sound that these things can project, and the strength of them and size of them and lots of different things. But I think you'll enjoy this. So anyway, let's go to our guest, Dan. Okay, Dan. I would like for you to give us a brief bio on yourself, if you would.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Dan. I stay in Lucas County, Toledo, Ohio, close to Angola and Swan area, close to the country.
Okay. And
I'm 35 years old. And,
okay. Ohio, I was telling you earlier, we haven't really talked much at all. We really haven't even talked about your encounter. I read some of your encounter, but I wanted this to be a fresh, straight through of the first time you telling kind of experience. But we had talked about Ohio. I've been getting a lot of stories from Ohio. Do you think that there might be some type of reason for that?
Well, I heard there's a lot of Indian sacred burial grounds around, and I've been blogging all night, and I've actually found a couple sites around the Ohio area that just draws me to that conclusion that
Now I want to let the audience hear this, dude. This will blow their mind. How long ago did this happen to you?
This just happened on Friday evening, around, I'll say about 6:30, 7 o'clock.
So that was 2 days ago, right?
Two days ago.
that is incredible. I mean, you're a strong man, dude. I'm telling you that you are able to even talk about this right now. Now, when this happened to you, did you have any idea about anything like this being possible?
No, not at the time. I recently just started researching Bigfoot and just a whole bunch of weird stuff, but I never ran across anything like I seen that night. You know, I subscribed to a couple of channels and just been getting a little feed from Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and they said they seen it in Ohio. So I'm like, was just curious, you know.
Right. And have you slept any since you had this encounter?
I slept probably the most about 5 hours sleep.
Right. And you've been pretty much distraught trying to figure out what the heck you saw, haven't you?
Yeah, I can't talk to anybody. My wife, I don't want to really freak her out. She thinks she thinks I was out drinking. I'm like, I wasn't. Didn't even have anything on me. No beer, nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible situation, man. It's that fresh 2 days ago. A lot of people can't talk about it that soon with someone like me, you know. So you're doing good, I'll tell you that. For us, I know.
I'm still shaking as we're talking right now. Like when I was typing the blog, my hands were literally shaking.
Yeah, I bet, man. I mean, I want people to try to imagine what this would be like. So I guess what we should do is for you just to kind of tell us what happened and give us every detail you can think of, just like you did when you wrote it out, and anything else you can think of, and that way people can get a grasp of what really happened to you.
Okay, well, just gonna start off maybe about Tuesday or Wednesday. Me and my buddy, we were planning a little getaway, 3-day, maybe 2-day trip out in country where his grandfather owned some property, maybe about 50 to 100 acres of land out there in the country. We was just planning on taking a little camping trip. We just got some new weapons and we got some scopes, and we were just gonna, see how our aiming was and just venture out because we're both nature people. So we're just out there playing around, want to play around. So we set off around, I'll say it was about 5 maybe, out and deep in the country. We got there, set up camp. It was a pretty big tent, and got our camping supplies out or whatever. And shortly after that, he was like, I'm beat. He just did a 12-hour shift, so he's like, I'm about to just take a quick nap, maybe an hour or so. And I'm like, go ahead, I'll just venture out a little bit and catch up with me. So I strapped up, got my weapon, had a little 9mm with a scope, 5-inch tactical knife, flashlight, and a walkie-talkie for him to contact me when he woke up. So I just started journeying out. Went out there, went through a little brush, started hitting some major woods, seeing a couple of deer and squirrels, just using my binoculars, seeing how good they were. So about this time, about 10 to 15 minutes later, I'm probably a mile out. Keep going. 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, I'm close to, I'm maybe about 2 miles out from where the camping set was. So, this time the brush was getting kind of thick. So I'm like going a little bit slower, but I'm still making tracks. So about 5 minutes later after that, I'm still going. Then I'm coming to a clearing area where it's no brush, is just a couple of huge trees around. So I make my way up there just to see, because I've never been that far out by myself. There was nobody around. What I seen next, I was coming into the clearing, and I thought I seen something, but I was like, oh, it's just branches or whatever. So I walked out into the clearing, and I seen what appeared to be I don't even know how to explain it. A werewolf. That's what I caught it. It looked like a a man werewolf. He was carrying a grown deer, a buck with antlers, one hand on his left side, just up in the air. This thing had to have been at least 9 to 10 feet tall. And he was carrying it like it was a stack of notebook paper or something like that, just simple. I know how tall, I can imagine how tall he was, because the deer he was carrying in his hand, it was at least 5 foot off the ground. And that's him carrying it, just, not dragging it, just holding it on the side. When I came into the clearing, I completely lost it. I was like, gave a, I couldn't even yell. When you get so scared, you just do like a weird yell, kind of yelp for air.
Yeah.
So he immediately seen me. I figured he seen me before I seen him, but he dropped the thing and immediately, like, this thing, he stood there for a while and just like kind of like he dropped it at first, and then he looked at me and I was terrified. I completely lost all my bowels. It's so embarrassing to say. I never thought I'd get that scared to just lose my bowels, and I lost it. I thought I was going to be dead. He was at least, I'll say about 50 to about 70 yards out. And I seen that he was by a huge tree. It didn't have any, funny thing, it didn't have any leaves or anything on it. It was just like one of them spooky looking trees that just like you'll see a raven on. Right. He was about probably 20 feet from it. He took 2 steps almost, I don't know if they were leaps, and jumped at least 10 feet in the air on the branch and maneuvered himself, to look at me, like, and gave some kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a growl, but it was like, he made like a snarl sound, but he was so far away, it like projected his growl right in my soul, man. I'm telling you, man, I was completely frozen at the time. So I just completely stood there. It seemed like a lifetime, man. Immediately this thing leaps out the tree and makes his way. Now he's about, I'll say 70 yards out. This thing, I'm telling you, he had to have been going at least 40 miles per hour on. He jumped, he was running like a dog, but his arms were so long, it looked like he was an ape, like you know how the apes run real fast and they're like upright a little bit still?
Yeah.
He at that level, he was still at least 6 to 7 feet high, and he was coming fast. I knew if I pulled my weapon out, he would have swallowed the bullet and still came at me. And I had a knife, which, I'm not no combat fighter or anything, and I knew I couldn't put up a fight with this thing, whatever it was. He had razor sharp teeth, man. I'd seen at least four huge fangs while he was running. I don't know how I seen all this stuff, but it was just in my mind, like what I seen. Right. Immediately, all I could think about is, I'm dead. This is it. My friend's never gonna find me. This thing is gonna rip me up somewhere and eat me. Immediately, when they say your life flashes before your eye, it is true. I seen my kids, I seen everything in my life, and I remember my mom telling me, whenever I'm in dire trouble, call on the name of Jesus, and he'll come save you. That's the only thing. I put my hand on my chest because it felt like I was about to have a heart attack. That's how scared I was. And I just whimpered, like, Jesus, help. Immediately, like, I got chill bumps all around me. And this thing was running so fast, it had to have been at least, this time, at least 20 yards out. He stopped so abruptly that he slid with his, like, when you're running fast and then you stop and you're like, ah, but he was going so fast he had to like grip the ground to stop, and he
Wow.
just suddenly just like backed away from me, and I think that time I was like delirious because I thought I was already dead. I didn't know what was going on, but he started backing up from me, like heading back to where he just ran from. And this time, after I called on the name of Jesus, I felt a presence behind me. Now I thought maybe he was trying to set me up, and like there was another one behind me because when you get that feeling somebody's watching you,
Yeah.
yeah, eerie. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. He's setting me up for the kill, and this is it. So he goes back in the tree. He starts galloping a little bit and jumps back in the tree. This time I'm just like, oh my goodness, what is this? I have no idea what I'm even seeing. I don't even know if I'm still standing. I'm just like like whimpering to the side a little bit. He gets back in the tree and starts snarling at me, and the way he looked at me, he had like sort of yellowish eyes, which just projected so much fear into you when you looked at him. It's like he knew what he was doing. Like he acted almost like a human being. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I know you're here, and I've been waiting for you. That's how I felt. Like it felt like I was in hell. Like this thing was been waiting for me, and he finally got me in. So he started like a little bit hiding behind the branch he was in, and at this time I'm like crying and tears are coming out of my eyes, and my chest is literally beating so hard it's coming through my head. My ears are like pumping the blood through them, and my head is shaking around. And I'm like, I really can't concentrate. I just want to pass out. And I'm thinking that might be the best thing if if this thing was to attack me. But
Right.
I got my focus a little bit, and I'm looking at him, and he's literally like almost fading away as I'm looking at him. I could see his eyes, but his body was literally camouflaging into the tree. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I seen his face. I don't know if he was fading out like a ghost. But I seen his face and his snout and his teeth and his eyes, but his body was camouflaging, or like with the air or whatever was behind him. He was camouflaging. He was in view of me, but I just couldn't see him hardly anymore. Now, at this time, I'm just like, well, I'm just not going to run because they say when you see a predator, the last thing you want to do is, take off running. And I know if he chased me, I wouldn't have a fighting chance at all. Right. So as I was standing there, I clearly heard a voice just said, "Don't be afraid, go now." So I was like, did this thing just really talk to me? Is my conscience speaking out loud to me? I don't know what the heck is going on. So I stood there some more, and I clearly heard it again say, "Do not be afraid, go." So I backed up so slowly, and it was just like, I felt wetness all down my leg. I knew I released everything, and my stomach was just gone. So I'm backing away until I get to the brush. Back to the brush, and oh man, I don't know how far I backed up, but I almost tripped over a log, and I took off running so fast. It was like a supernatural speed that I have never ran this fast in my life. Like it felt like somebody was just pushing me. I ran for about 4 to 5 minutes, and immediately I seen the camp, and I was like, my mind was gone by then, because I'm like, I've been actually walking for like 30, 40 minutes and reached this destination. How did I manage to get back in about 5 minutes? So I ran up to the camp where my friend was like, help, come out. You know, I'm calling my friend Twan, like, come out, come out. He comes out with a shotgun, like, dude, I've been looking for you. What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, let's just go pack it up. He's like, no, tell me what's going on. We can go out there. I'm like, please. And he's just like, okay, you're going to tell me this. So he just starts packing the stuff up real quick. Got a couple of his shells, threw everything in the camper we was driving in. And we was heading out. And I'm still crying. He's like, dude, you stink. And I didn't even know I pooped on myself, which is so embarrassing to even say, but I lost it all. So he's like, we're heading out the area where the camper is at. So we see a deer. We pull up and it's just a weird, eerie feeling. The deer is just standing right by our car, at least 5 foot away, just looking at us like, you're not even doing anything. And he's like, what the heck is that about? And I'm like, I have no idea. It was just like the deer was just seeing us off. You know what I'm saying? Making sure we were safe. So this time we're pulling out, and we're heading the road, and I'm so paranoid. And he's like, dude, I've been calling you for hours. I was about to come out there and look for you. I've been walkie-talking you and everything. I'm like, dude, I've been gone for like maybe 45 minutes to less than an hour. And he's like, man, you've been gone for 2 hours. And I'm like, no way. I look at the time on the clock. It says about going on 8 o'clock. His watch says 8. Mine still says 6:35 or 6:40 or something. Which meaning I was out there for about almost 2 hours.
Wow.
So which blew my mind.
So you like had missing time and everything.
Yes. And when I encountered that creature, when I said it seemed like a lifetime, it seemed like time slowed down for me, at least, because for me to see everything get my thoughts together, and for me to I don't know how to explain it. For me to get the details on what I seen, and for me to remember my mom just saying, call on Jesus whenever you need help. The animal should have been there and devoured me by then. But I had enough time to do all of that, and I just can't wrap my head around. You know, it's so weird.
Right. And you even running back to camp after you had walked for 45 minutes and you were back in. Yeah. How long did it take you to run back?
It was about 5 minutes, man. I don't know how I did it. It's impossible. It's impossible to go that fast or to skip time or whatever I did. Even when I came back to the camp, when I got back, when I left the woods, I noticed it was dark while I was still running. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? Where I was at, it was just clearly light. You know, it was not that light, but, you know, the sun was starting to go back behind the trees a little bit. But when I came into the clear where the camp, you could tell the time had passed, but I really didn't notice it until he told me what time it was. And
wow, that's interesting. So it was kind of fairly light, and within that 5-minute run back, it was dark all of a sudden.
Yes.
Wow. Now let's look at the creature itself. Now when you first approached it, it was carrying a full-grown deer.
Yes, it was no baby deer. This thing had what do you call it? Hooves or those things that come out of his head?
Antlers.
Antlers, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a grown one, and he was carrying it, not struggling. He was just carrying it like it was, you know, like he does it all the time. One arm, it was his left arm. He was carrying it with.
Man, that's incredible. A full-grown deer. Can you describe the creature? Kind of start with the legs and kind of go up.
Well, it looked like what I was saying, like the movie Narnia. I don't know. That's the only thing I keep showing in my mind. Narnia, it was like a half goat man with the crooked legs a little bit that bent back. Like it's almost like if a goat was to stand up on a leg. It still has those hind legs that look like they're bent right in the middle.
Yeah, so it had basically a dog's hind leg.
Yeah, yep. And
with the hops.
Yeah. And his legs weren't muscular at all. It was straight. A lot of hair on it, though. His torso area was not that hairy. You could see he was cut up like he's been working out for years. He was really, his shoulders had to have been at least 5 foot broad shoulders, really huge. And he had a lot of hair on his upper body. One thing I did notice, he had little sharp teeth and about 4 sharp fangs. And his ears looked like maybe donkey ears a little bit, but they weren't droopy. They were long, like a wolf's ear, but they were extremely large.
Right.
Like he had to hear me way before I seen him. That's what I got at. Notice his eyes were like maybe a orangey yellow. Yeah, something like that. That's what I remember. I can't forget his eyes. They were like a amber yellow or something like that.
Yeah. Now the snout. What kind of snout did it have?
It looked like maybe I want to say like a Doberman Pinscher snout. So it was wasn't super hairy. It was like a dog snout, pretty much, but a lot bigger.
Yeah,
a lot bigger.
And it was more like a Doberman, like an Anubis type, the Egyptian.
Mm-hmm. Yep, something like that. You could clearly see he had a nose at the tip, and it was really shiny. His nose was really shiny. That's what I noticed too.
Right.
But his face really didn't have that much hair on it. It almost looked like he had a human appearance look on his face mixed with a dog.
Huh. That's interesting. So it was a little less hair on the face area then. And when it comes to the teeth, can you kind of describe the teeth from what you were able to see?
Yeah, he had little teeth. They were little, but they looked sharp. And he had 4 huge fangs on the side. It looked like almost 4, it could have been 2 on each side, but they looked razor sharp, and he was ready to eat. So
it seemed like he had more than just one set of fangs than the canines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like 2 on each side and 2 on the bottom.
Wow. Were they straight or were they curved or?
They looked straight. I really couldn't tell. They could have been curved, but they looked straight to me. Like when he closed his mouth, they were out of his mouth.
All right.
Like protruding. Yeah.
So your guess for how tall? What would you say it was?
He had to have been at least 9.5 feet. 9 easy, if not bigger.
Yeah.
So I was estimating it because he was carrying a deer, and the deer was nowhere near the floor. It was at least 5 foot in the air when he was walking with it.
Wow, that's incredible.
So he had to be at least 9 to 10 feet tall.
Man, that's a huge, huge dog, man. My goodness. And so when he was running, did you get to see his hands or paws?
Yeah, I seen his hands when he dropped the deer. Actually, his arms were really hanging lower than his knee, like extremely long arms. Like if he put them out, it would have to at least been a 10 foot arm span,
Right.
Yeah, he had wolf paws, but you could see little nails on them, like I don't know how to describe it. Like they weren't like retractable; they were just out. Cause
Right.
I'm thinking that's how he was actually carrying the deer. Cause he looked like he almost like had him on his side, but like had his nails in the deer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm wondering from the distance if you were able to. Did you see fingers or did you see just paws?
well, he had fingers, but the top of them were like paws. The base of them looked like paws, but you could clearly see he had. It looked like human fingers with claws on them.
Okay.
You, yeah,
And yeah, yeah, that's quite a specimen there for sure. So when you seen this thing uh, jump up in the tree and he let out a snarl at you, um, do you feel like that he could project the sound just specifically at
definitely,
you?
definitely. It was like almost in my body, in my mind. Like he wanted me to pass out and be scared. He projected that. It was no way. He had to have been at least saying 50 yards out for him to make a growl. It seemed like I would have barely heard it, but it seemed like it was right there in my head. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
telepathic a little bit. I don't know how else to explain it. It seemed like it was in my head.
yeah. It seems like on a lot of these stories, it seems like when someone talks about the growl, even with the Bigfoot, it seems like the creature is actually able to narrow focus the sound wave to where it actually the person can feel the sound hit their body, kind of like you would at a concert, feeling the
Hmm.
yeah. Um, and it seems to have some type of effect, like it might be some type of infrasound or something like that. Do you think the sound had an effect on your body?
Definitely, I couldn't move. I was stuck. I knew I had weapons on me, but I just felt helpless. Like I just wanted to die. I wanted to actually die before he approached me, and because I didn't know if he. I mean, I know he probably didn't want to eat me, but because he had a huge deer with him, so I don't know if he wanted to abduct me to maybe take me to his hideout. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I mean,
Right.
uh,
Yeah. Wow. So after you, I mean, when you saw this, since it's been 2 days ago, um, what what did you think? I mean, like what did it do to your worldview to know this is
um,
out there?
it totally it, it totally made me think about everything differently. I mean, I stay 30 minutes from the where I was at, and I'm staying in Toledo, Ohio, in the city, and there's a huge population in Toledo, Ohio, and for me to know this thing is just 30 miles out, and I'm like, hey, the government or nobody knows about this thing walking around out here. So I was starting to just think like, does this thing actually move around at night, or does it just like? Because when I seen it, it was camouflage. Like, I'm thinking like maybe it could cloak himself and move around faster that way without even being seen, or possibly just, when I start talking about stuff like that, I'm thinking more spiritual. Like I'm thinking this thing maybe can cross dimensions and go wherever else he hangs out at and comes back.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
these things have been seen in the cities too. I mean, in suburban areas and even in cities at times. Now, when it comes to this cloaking thing, did it? You said you were able to see parts of like the face, but it seemed like the body was kind of blending in and out, like it was
Yeah, the
chameleon.
body was, yep, it was actually fading out of my vision, but I seen his eyes were still glowing a little bit, and can definitely see his teeth. He was still snarling at me at the time, and he blended in so well. If he could just be watching you, and you would never see him. I would have never seen him unless I knew exactly where I was looking at on that branch.
Right. So his eyes still showed up, and his teeth kind of in the face area was still showing up.
Yep, he was definitely trying to intimidate me. Like he already knew I was scared.
All right. Now, I mean, I think that they might have the ability to do what you're talking about, and I've heard this about Sasquatch too. I think it might be something to do with the type of hair they have. It seems to be able to absorb light, or when they make a sound, it seems to be able to manipulate the air to where it bends the light around them, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but I actually even have a video about a cloaking Sasquatch, and it seems to be blended out partly, coming in and out a little bit, where you could kind of see through it, but you could see it there. So it makes me wonder. But the only other thing I would kind of wonder is, do you think maybe it was possible where you were crying, your blood was pumping so much that your vision was doing the blurring partly?
No, at first when he jumped in the tree, my eyes were watering, and I didn't think I would be able to see him anymore because I was crying and I didn't know what to do. But as my vision cleared, I clearly seen him in the tree.
Okay.
Right. And then his body started fading out, in and out. And I noticed when he growled at me, it made my vision of him distorted a little bit. Like the noise he was making to go inside my head was almost affecting how I was seeing him.
Wow.
If you can even understand what I mean.
Yeah.
It was like whatever he was transporting at me was affecting my whole body.
Right. Well, that's very interesting, actually. See, because I just believe they have the ability to use sound in a way that is more akin to something that you would see like in the scriptures. And I've talked about this before, but when like in the book of Genesis, there's the angel. It says an angel and a flaming sword was placed to guard the way to the tree of life. It doesn't say angel with a sword. It says an angel and a flaming sword. And I looked those words up in the Hebrew. The flaming sword word meant enchantment. So it almost insinuated that there was something audible about what was making this guarding the way, or cloaking, or something. You know what I'm saying? And the only other time I found that word in the scripture is when the Moses and he went to the Pharaoh, and then the Pharaoh called his magicians out, and they threw their rods on the ground, and their rods turned into snakes. And then Moses threw his rod on the ground, and his rod turned into a snake, and it ate theirs. And the word enchantment was used there. So when I think of something that's enchantment, I think of something that is audible, some type of word, some type of something, you know what I'm saying, something that you would hear. So if this thing has abilities such as supernatural type abilities, or is able to, whether it's a hybrid between angelic and whatever corrupted flesh that it is manipulated on earth, like in Genesis 6 talks about, they would have some remaining abilities of these pipes and timbrels, or the vocal system that they have, that angelic beings would have, to do things that are audible, that affect, because in the Bible people got smoked with uh, madness or blindness or lots of different things. One case, when people were smote with blindness, it said they wearied themselves to find the door, like they were paralyzed partially, like they were physically altered to where they couldn't physically move well. So that makes sense to me that he would growl and it would affect what you were seeing. That might be how he was cloaking himself, is he was doing it by affecting what you see. But if you were standing at another angle, you would be able to still see it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's just a theory, but a very interesting point, man. Wow.
Well, what really, this thing was running at me so fast. I don't know what would have caused him to turn around in such a frightful manner. He could have grabbed me and took me wherever and disappeared with me, and I would have never been seen. But for me to call on the name of Jesus, I was raised as a Christian boy. I kind of slipped away from the faith a little bit, but I pray with my family and do the devotion and pray every day as a family.
Right.
I always know just to call on the name of Jesus. Now, when I called on the name of Jesus, I immediately had chill bumps, and I felt the presence. If it wasn't the actual, another one of those things behind me, I know something was behind me guarding me for a fact. I felt it,
Yeah.
My hairs were all stood up, and I know I didn't scare him. For him just to stop like that and hit back in the tree, I don't know. And the voice I heard talking about, don't be afraid, go now. And I'm thinking I'm going crazy. This thing just told me to hit the road before it eats me. And I ignored it the first time. And said it again. I backed up and just ran with supernatural abilities, actually.
Right. Well, what I think was behind you is I think that I interviewed a judge here a while back. He had a Bigfoot encounter, and he told me about the Bigfoot encounter, and it's on the show. He was a sheriff, and now he's a judge. And he's been a judge for a while. But he told me another story privately about I think it was a girl that was walking home from school, and this car they had gotten an alert. This is when he was still a sheriff, and they had gotten some kind of alert that there was a guy that was trying to take some kids. And I think I don't know if it was one of the officers showed up to this area or something, but I can't remember how he knew this, but this is what he told me. He said this car basically pulled up, and there was a girl, a kid, I don't know how old, 9, 10, 12, I'm not sure. But he was trying to get that girl to get in the car, and I think the girl prayed or something like that. And what happened was, he looks up, kind of past the girl, and there was a huge angel standing there with a sword. And it freaked this guy out, and he ends up squealing off and just in terror, because so when you said that there was, you felt like there was something.
Man, I just got chill bumps everywhere when you said that, man. It feels like it was somebody guarding my life at that moment.
Yeah.
When I called on him, it seemed like there was something more powerful on my side just to make him freak out like that. I'm talking about he was running so fast, he slid at least 10 to 15 feet, because that's how fast he was running.
Yeah.
And dug his hand in the ground just to stop.
Yeah. And I've heard another story like this too, where these people were praying, and it was during the 6-Day War actually, and these forces were coming up on the Israeli forces. There was only like 3 guys, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna die, man," because there was a large group of people coming at them. They had run out of ammo and everything. It's like, okay, it's over. and these men got up there just about to get them, and all of a sudden they were all looking kind of up above them a little bit, and they yelled out, "Father Abraham," and they, in Arabic, and they all turned around and ran in terror, and they saw what they thought was a huge figure standing there that they thought was Abraham with like a huge sword, and so I mean,
Wow.
so that's what I think happened. That's what my opinion. What happened to you? That dog man seen a huge presence that you thought was something behind you. I think there was a big, huge angel standing behind you with a sword, and that thing saw that, and he was like, he knew not to mess with that. He's like,
And it almost, it struck home when I haven't talked to anybody about this. I talked to my wife, my friend, and my mother. I was literally bawling on the phone, telling her what I seen, and she said, "I started praying for you at 6:00 for your protection on what you do, whatever you do." She just had the urge just to pray for me for a whole hour. And it just, tears were just streaming down my eyes. And I'm just thinking like, my God, you possibly just saved my life,
Yeah, that's incredible right there. Yeah, see, she got the unction to pray, and she started praying, and when it comes to the part with the angel standing there, because something you said that you thought something was standing behind you, and then something told you to don't be afraid. That's something that the angels say in the scriptures a lot. Fear not. You know what I'm saying? And then they would tell you, they would give you some instruction after they say fear not. So that's kind of what I think happened. And then the fact that your mother is praying for you at home at the time you're having this, that's pretty intense, buddy. That's I mean, God had mercy on you, dude, for real.
Oh my goodness. I thought if I can explain the fear, the worst thing in my life, it had to have been 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
The fear I had right then, I knew, it's not even a possibility. I already knew I was dead. This thing was coming at me. It was no way I could fight it at all. He was massive. It looked like he's a pro wrestler, like on steroids. I knew if I had shot him, he would have swallowed the bullet and just kept coming. That's how big he was. It was like shooting a dinosaur with a, BB gun.
Yeah. Well, you just saw him carrying a full-grown deer like a notebook,
Right.
So, it's kind of it kind of goes ahead and puts a little something in your head that, it's a pretty serious deal here.
Intimidation. It was, when he seen me, he just looked at me like, yeah, I want you to see me. You see what I just did? Something like that is like, I know he had to hear me before I heard him. Because when I first came in there, I kind of stumbled and fell upon it looked like a rope or something. Somebody was, yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. It looked like, the trap set there, and wow. Didn't even think about that. There was a rope set there. It looked like somebody had a rope there set for a trap. Maybe it was for my trap, or maybe somebody was trying to catch that thing. I'm not even sure anymore.
Huh. When you were backing up, you stumbled on a rope?
No, when I was going out into the main, where I seen him at, I tripped over a rope. It was connected to one tree.
Okay.
It was like to another tree. And I kind of tripped over it a little bit. And I came out into the brush, out the brush, and that's when I seen him. So I'm thinking, what if that was a trap for me, or maybe it was a trap for him? Mm-hmm.
Wow. You don't just tie a rope from one tree to the other, low to the ground. How far off the ground was it?
It was right on the ground. Actually, it was like probably 2 inches off the ground. But it wasn't like a regular rope from the store. It looked like maybe it's like mangled up.
Right. Wow, that's
like a whole bunch of. It didn't look like a rope. It looked like a whole bunch of like I don't know if I want to say a vine or something, you know,
Right.
but it was attached to the other tree.
Well, that's interesting, huh?
Yeah, I didn't even think about it until now.
Now, you also, your mom told you something about that area. What did she tell you about that area?
Oh yeah. She told me my friend's grandfather, his wife was a witch, like a witch doctor or something like that, and they used to conjure up spirits and stuff back in the day, uh maybe the early 1900s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the sacred ground, and that house has been abandoned since like 1960, 1970 or something like that. So it's just an abandoned area. But I know that house where we was at, they used to practice black magic and witchery there.
Wow.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with what I seen out in the woods or, you know,
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, sometimes that's kind of a common theme that there's something like that was going on in the area, and then those kind of sightings happen. Yeah, very interesting.
They could have opened up some kind of doorway for him to hang around that spot, you know, or conjuring up stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are some people that do that kind of thing, and they actually gain the ability to be able to transform. Bill Snowbolton talks about that, and you know he had seen it before. He was in the that cult, satanic cult thing, and he said that you can actually choose between being a werewolf or a vampire after you get to a certain degree. And he was like a Mason, and it was a cult type thing, and that, you know, after you got to like the 13th degree or something like that, you chose those one or two paths, you know, and he said that he was able to, when he got excited, grow fangs. The fangs would come out and they drank blood, you know, it was addictive. And
whoa.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, man. But he said he didn't want to do the werewolf thing because he heard that it was very painful, and you would, you know, you could hear bones snapping and stuff like that. And he said it seemed like it was very painful. And there's encounters that I've heard, you know, that where they talk about hearing that bone cracking and stuff, and the thing seems like it's kind of shifting, and then it stands up, and it kind of makes me wonder if some of the cases of the Dogman encounters are actually a person who has changed, or a skinwalker type thing, you know. Native Americans used to do it. But
I mean, how big this thing was, I really can't even see him hiding in the woods. I mean, it's not like we have a huge forest around here. It's like basically city. So I don't understand how he could get around, or even have a breed of, it could be a breed of these things, you know, because unfortunately they would eat up all the deer around here.
Yeah.
They are hunters out there, and why wouldn't they have been reporting these things, you know, walking around? I'm sure they had to see them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff reported from Ohio, and these things have been seen in packs too. So I know that they sometimes do run in packs, but I think the Dogman, they don't stay in one area so much as, but you know, no one really knows. I'm like you. It seems to be a supernatural component to those. I think the Bigfoot stuff is in the woods all the time, and maybe the Dogmen are too. But there's a serious supernatural aspect to these Dogmen sometimes, man. I don't know. It's hard to believe that there's not something, you know, on the supernatural level. And it may just be because it's a genetic manipulation, like we hear about in Genesis 6, that it's half fallen angel with whatever they ended up engineering. And they
I did so much research on that just in the day.
Yeah, you'll run across all kinds of different things like that, and you know, all you can do is make educated guesses after you know, you collect a bunch of stories and you start kind of getting a picture. The Dogman thing is a lot harder to figure out than the Sasquatch thing. That's for sure. But wow.
I mean, if I would have seen a Sasquatch, I'd be like, okay, I know they're real, but I mean, to see like a werewolf creature just blew my mind. It was no doubt what I seen. It couldn't have been a bear or anything else. This thing was a straight up werewolf demon, man. That's what I called him on the way back. He was like a werewolf demon. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, when most people encounter them, they have never heard of nothing like it. They call them werewolf for sure, and probably demons most of the time too. Is a werewolf demon. But
yeah, the way he was making me feel, I knew it wasn't an animal. It was more he had mind control over you.
Right. Make sure you're talking into your phone there.
Sorry.
But yeah, you are doing really good though to had this encounter 2 days ago, and you're able to tell it. Well, when we first were talking, we didn't really go into the story much, but you seemed a lot more nervous, and we talked for a little while, and you calmed down in just that short time a little bit for sure. But
yeah, I took some medicine just to calm my nerves just a little bit. I've been needing that just to get a little bit of rest because I'm so worked up. And
yeah. Well, that's very understandable, man. 2 days ago to have something like that happen to you, and 2 days ago, and be functioning at all. That's a world changing experience, man, for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I go to work tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to even function at work.
Well, try to get you some sleep tonight, man. And thank you. And we'll be talking. You know, I'll email you tomorrow evening and stuff, and we'll talk some more. And everybody out there in YouTube land, I hope you enjoyed that. Be supportive of Dan here, and he'll probably comment in the comment section on the video. If I comment, it was your boy Daz.
Yeah,
boy Daz or something like that.
DAZ.
Yeah. That'll be Dan. I want everybody to be supportive. Now, also, Dan, sometimes we get trolls that come by and they say something ugly or negative, so just ignore that. Most of the fans are going to be very supportive of you, so I'm asking all the fans kind of surround him around there and be supportive when you see yeah boy Daz in the comment section, and pray for the guy, and I think he's going to be fine.
Please keep me in prayer, man. I don't know how I'm even make it.
It sounds like your mom was doing that real good too. So
yeah, I need all the prayer I can get. You're
gonna do just fine, buddy. I really believe that you're doing extremely well right now, and everything's gonna be okay. And you found out that this thing was stopped in its tracks, and from there, if you ever seen one again, that's going to happen again. You're going to stop it in its tracks, and
definitely, and that built up my faith a little bit, a lot of it actually, to know,
right.
Greater is in me than he is in the world.
Right. Yeah. Right. Amen, bro. That's a faith builder, man. That might be why God let that happen to you.
Yeah.
You've seen the power of the Lord and praying. You've seen the power that stopped a monster that might have ate you.
Definitely, and it was a monster. That's the best word for it, a monster. That's what it was.
Right. Right. Well, we're coming up on an hour, Dan. Thank you, and I'll email you tomorrow. Okay, brother.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Just hold on the phone there for just a second. Everybody out there in YouTube land, hope you enjoyed that. If you got a story that you'd like to share, contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. brief description of your story and contact information, please. If anyone wants to contribute to help me with this show, you can do so in the description of the video here. There's a PayPal Me link. You can contribute there, and every contribution is very much appreciated. And until then, God bless, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.